Did you know? Before the invention of trains, we used to run wagons on your mom. Oh, the memories. Let's just keep on going right here, give her a little highlight.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Posted on MVP's social media page, Ramla Ali fights in Dubai this Saturday, February the 14th, on what is not a most valuable promotions show, but what this tells me is that she must still be with the promotion if they went as far as posting about it. Ramla herself said, "I will be fighting next on the 14th of February on Battle Promotions in Dubai at the Westin Hotel, Dubai Marina. Massive thank you to my promoters, MVP, for ensuring I got in the ring before Ramadan begins."
So they're the ones who got her this fight.
Likely because even though they're doing a show in the United Kingdom, if Ramla Ali is a practicing Muslim who's going to be observing Ramadan, then she may not be able to fight on that UK show. So they got her out a little sooner on what is a smaller show scheduled for 8 rounds in the women's super bantamweight division, super bantamweight. That is where Ellie Scottney and Mayeli Flores are set to battle for the undisputed crown. Who Ramla is going to be fighting is India's own Mamta Singh.
28 years old, the Ramla, who's 36.
Ramla sports a professional record of 10 wins with 2 losses and no draws, 2 knockouts, having been knocked out once in 12 professional bouts. To her opponent, Mamta Singh, who sports a professional record of 8 wins with 3 losses and 1 draw, 4 knockouts, having been knocked out 2 times in 12 professional bouts. You may be familiar with that name, because that's the same Mamta Singh who not that long ago shared the ring with Belouza Muzdaman, who stopped her in the 4th round of a contest scheduled for 10. I've seen Mamta, and she's terrible.
No good.
There's no nice way for me to say that. She was stopped by Belouza Muzdaman, stopped by Angelica Lucas, decisioned by Ramandeep Kaur. I expected, this being a smaller show than anything MVP does, a stay busy kind of opponent, and that's what we're looking at. Stay busy kind of opponent in a stay busy kind of fight.
Ramla is staying busy.
Last in action in July of last year, when she made her MVP debut opposite the Ring Brazil zone, Lila Furtado, in a fight that a lot of people thought Ramla Ali lost. She was fortunate to get the decision. Now she's re-emerging in Dubai opposite the Ring Mamta Singh, and it's just a question of, is Ramla going to decision her, or is she going to hit the gas and try to knock her out?
Because she's been knocked out 2 times already.
This is a stay busy fight for Ramla, you can see that, but to what end? Stay busy up until what happens? Up until they can either get her the winner of Scottney versus Flores, or until the winner of that fight moves up and Ramla can fight for a vacant title, because I don't think she beats either of them. I don't think she beats Ellie. I think Ellie beats her on points, and I think Mayeli knocks her out.
Same come-forward aggression that she struggled with in the Mercado fight, in the Guzman fight. Mayeli brings that to the table and more. I think Mayeli would stop her if they fought. So Ramla's best bet at becoming a super bantamweight champion is by not going through one.
Damn. If a title becomes available, becomes vacant, she can become a champion that way, and given her age and, where she is right now with her boxing, I think that is her best bet. It's a symbiotic relationship they have, because Ramla Ali is not just a boxer, she's a model, and a rather attractive one. That lends itself to the MVP brand. In tandem with MVP getting her these opportunities to get her an alphabet title, which would further legitimize her boxing career and marketability.
She's a model, she's a boxer, maybe she can get some brand deals off of that.
MVP can get some positive press for being the ones that promote her. As stated, it's a symbiotic relationship. So she's set to return to action over the weekend. I expect her to win. It's just a question of how. Does she decision Mamta Singh, or does she hit the gas and knock her out? We'll find out on Saturday. Men's junior middleweight news, an update to a story we talked about in a previous video. Errol Spence Jr. to return versus Tszyu in June. Former unified welterweight champion Errol Spence Jr. will reportedly end his nearly 3-year hiatus from boxing for a June showdown with former junior middleweight champion Tszyu in Australia, sources confirmed to ESPN on Tuesday. News of Errol Spence Jr.'s return was first reported by Ring Magazine and Mike Coppinger. The fight, which will headline a PBC on Prime pay-per-view, will be Spence's debut at 154 and is being targeted for either June 6th or the 13th at a venue in Australia, to be determined.
That's the twist. I had heard about this fight some weeks ago, but I didn't realize it was for Errol Spence Jr. to travel to Australia to do it. Spence last fought in July of 2023 when he was dismantled, knocked down 3 times and stopped in the 9th by Terence Crawford in a fight to determine an undisputed welterweight champion. Spence had largely gone quiet since that devastating loss, with some speculation that the fight with Crawford would be his last. However, rumors of Spence's return began circulating early last year and tied him to a fight with WBC junior middleweight champion Sebastian Fundora. That fight never came into fruition, as Fundora moved forward with securing a fight against Keith Thurman. Spence, now 35, is now slated to return against fellow veteran and former WBO champion Tszyu in his home continent of Australia. Tszyu, 31, fell on hard times over the last few years, losing 3 of 4 fights after starting his career at 24-0, with 2 of them coming by stoppage. After coming up short in a rematch with Fundora in July, Tszyu bounced back with a unanimous decision win over Anthony Velasquez in December. Tszyu is reportedly looking to secure a fight in March on the undercard of Crocker vs. Potto in Australia before facing Spence. It is not yet known if the outcome of that fight will affect the prospective summer showdown with Spence.
This is not the way that I originally heard it. What I originally heard was that Tim and Spence would be fighting in America in Las Vegas in an event financed by the Rugby League from Australia. Errol Spence Jr. traveling to the land down under was not on my bingo card, but I suppose that if Keith Thurman could do it for Brock Jarvis, Errol Spence can do it for Tszyu. Must be supremely confident if he thinks he can go down there and win a decision, or worse, stop Tszyu, who's been stopped 2 times already.
I've no further quarrel with Errol Spence Jr. My entire hang-up with this fighter was his deliberately delaying the Crawford fight. But now that he's already had it, I've no issues with him or his ring return.
Makes things interesting.
Because I didn't really think he'd come back, and I've my reservations as to why he's actually coming back. I don't think he's got itchy knuckles.
I think he needs the money.
So if what you're talking about is a Spence versus Tszyu fight in Australia, that would make the lead promoter of the show No Limit, not the PBC. The PBC might broadcast it in this country via their deal with Amazon, but at the helm of the promotion would be No Limit. I wonder if they're the ones doing it. Are we gonna have to wake up early in the morning to see it?
There's a 12 to 16 hour time difference between Australia and, say, New York in the United States.
So if it's 11 p.m. in Australia, for example, as the fighters are making their ring walks, it's 7 a.m. in New York. We know that Tszyu is a box office attraction in his own neck of the woods, and for a time, so was Errol Spence Jr. The time in which the contest happens is pretty important. Maybe No Limit will do the fight at a time that is accommodating for both markets, so the Spence fans in America can purchase the show, and obviously, so the Aussies can be there, which they will be, for a fight of that scale.
It's not going to be no belt on the line for this one, not that they need one to sell it. It's confirmation of what I'm always telling you guys, that Aussie boxing is bigger now than it's ever been, because you don't normally get Americans traveling to that region of the world for a boxing match. Why isn't he coming back here?
Why is this come back all the way down there?
Money. It's No Limit Promotions putting up all the money for the show after all, so if they're the ones that are going to do that, they're going to have it on their turf.
Money.
They're going to bill it as a pay-per-view in Australia. They're going to bill it as a pay-per-view in America to make as much money as they can from those 2 respective markets.
Money.
Errol needs a tune-up fight after 3 years away from the sport, but in America,
You can't just fight Joe Blow and charge people $75 to see it.
that's where Tszyu comes in. Maybe you think Tszyu is a tune-up fight for Errol. Maybe Errol thinks that himself. Maybe Tszyu is, but that's a tune-up fight against a guy who can sell some pay-per-views. Even if you think it's a tune-up fight, it's not your run-of-the-mill tune-up fight.
Money.
The short answer as to why Errol would be going all the way to Australia for a glorified tune-up fight? Money.
Is it really a tune-up fight?
That depends on how it all plays out, because there is a feeling that the both of these fighters at this point are damaged goods. Errol Spence Jr. as a result of the car accident and the beating that he took against Crawford, with the added time off, he could be damaged goods. But Tszyu,
The two beatings to Sebastian, the bad beating to Bakram Murtazaliev, his beatings have been more recent.
they've both been through the ringer, but Errol Spence Jr. has had 2 close to 3 years to recover, whereas Tim, his beatings have been in more recent memory. Still recovering from them, making new additions to his corner in Pedro Diaz, who seems to want Tim to take a more measured approach. Errol Spence Jr. was rumored to have sat down with Stephen Breadman Edwards, Buddy McGirt,
Guys who he might be considering to train him for his big comeback.
It's unfortunate the way that things ended between Errol and Derek. Derek was with him since his amateur days, you understand that? He was there at the very beginning of Errol Spence Jr.'s career as a boxer. To have all that fall apart over money.
But he was there at the beginning. He won't be there the next time we see Errol.
What is Errol really trying to get at with this comeback? Because you're not fighting Tim Tszyu for the sake of fighting Tim Tszyu. Is this a segue to something? On the PBC side of things, he has the winner of Fundura versus Thurman as an option, but I feel like you're only going to make so much money with that fight. At a time where the Saudis are making big cash injections in the sport, I wonder that Errol doesn't want a Saudi bag for himself. Several other PBC fighters have already made appearances on Turkey El Al Sheikh's shows, some more than once, like Carlos Adames.
Rayo and Isak Cruz fought each other on one of Turkey's shows.
Arislandi Lara just fought on one of Turkey's shows. That Errol Spence fighting on one of those shows, it's not outside the realm of possibility. Errol and Tim would represent 2 of the few fighters in the sport right now that haven't dealt with Turkey yet. For a fighter in his mid-30s like Errol Spence Jr., who's already been through the ringer, you're telling me that he's not playing with the idea of maybe parlaying this win, if he does win, into a big Saudi bag?
Come on.
This may sound pessimistic, but I don't think Errol's back from a rekindled, renewed passion for the sport. I don't think he's back because he has itchy knuckles. I think he's back because he needs more money. He didn't make so much from his fights that he can retire high on the hog. After 3 years out and not making anything, needs more money.
That doesn't mean that he's broke.
What that could mean is that if he doesn't keep fighting, he soon will be. And so he is back. Floyd Mayweather's current situation with Al Haymon, how much money Al Haymon is said to have stole from him, you have to wonder if he didn't steal money from some of his other fighters, like Errol Spence Jr.
In men's cruiserweight news, Jai Opetaia versus Brendan Glanton confirmed for Ring Zuffa belts March 8th. Dana White confirmed on social media Tuesday that Jai Opetaia and Brendan Glanton will fight for the Ring Magazine and inaugural Zuffa Boxing Cruiserweight title March 8th in Vegas. Paramount Plus will stream the 12-round bout between Australia's Opetaia and Atlanta's Brendan Glanton as the main event from UFC's Meta Apex Performance Center.
Opetaia 30 is the most prominent roster addition announced by Zuffa Boxing since it launched last year. The Sydney native is the consensus #1 cruiserweight in boxing. An IBF spokesperson informed The Ring on Tuesday that Opetaia still holds his cruiserweight title and that neither he nor anyone from his team has indicated that he will vacate it. Glanton is ranked 15th by the IBF and thus eligible to fight for his belt, but it was not clear based on Zuffa Boxing's announcement if it would be at stake. Zuffa Boxing, fronted by Veit, president and CEO of UFC, initially indicated it wouldn't acknowledge the IBF, WBA, WBC, or WBO titles in its bouts. Veit admitted recently, though, that Zuffa Boxing won't force its fighters to relinquish sanctioning body belts they've won to fight for the fledgling promotional company's crown.
So the Zuffa Boxing belt is set to make its debut. We don't yet know what it's going to look like, but I hope it doesn't look like those UFC titles. And rest assured, it does matter how it looks.
You only get one opportunity to make a first impression.
And if people's first impression of Zuffa's inaugural cruiserweight title is that it looks like a UFC belt, that may be a far deviation from what they're used to. And if you're Zuffa, you don't want that.
You want to be able to blend in, believe it or not, to give the fans a sort of sense of continuity that this is a belt in the sport of boxing,
Right?
just like any other belt. I would go as far as saying they should make it look somewhat like the other belts, with a few added twists, some identifiable markers that it is the Zuffa belt, but it shouldn't be a far cry from the existing belts that are out there. It should look like an addition.
Part of a set.
Now, Zuffa Boxing does recognize the Ring Magazine titles in part because Turki El Al-Sheikh, chairman of Saudi Arabia's General Entertainment Authority and owner of the Ring, is also part of Zuffa Boxing's leadership. Opetaia has defended his IBF title 4 times since he won it a second time in May of 2024, defeating Latvia's Meiris Briedis by UD in their 12-round rematch in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Glanton, 33, stopped former WBA light heavyweight champion Marcus Brown after the 6th round of his most recent bout in October of last year in Lagos, Nigeria. He lost his previous bout by UD to former WBO champion Chris Billum Smith on April 26th in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, London. Now he's fighting another cruiserweight champion.
A more dangerous one for what will be the inaugural Zuffa Cruiserweight title. There's no mention of the IBF title on the fight poster.
Just says it's a world title fight, but it doesn't say which world title. I guess they're leaving that to the imagination. But the IBF was contacted, and they said Jai Opetaia has not vacated his belt.
And Jai Opetaia himself, upon announcing his signing to Zuffa, said he's still shooting for undisputed. He still wants the other alphabet titles.
I saw one Twitter user who goes by the name Ringside Fracas react to the news by saying, so what's happening with Opetaia and the IBF? Is he still fighting with their belt or becoming a full Zuffa champion fighter? Poor career management in my opinion, but I hope he makes a lot of money.
It's not rushed to assumption. We don't know if he's dropped his IBF title, and I hope that he hasn't. But as far as poor career management, what was the alternative? What would you have had them do? He wasn't offered an extension by Matchroom, and to my knowledge, none of the other promoters made a play to pick him up. If Zuffa did,
I would call that good management. I'd go as far as calling it a stroke of luck. At a time where your old promoter dropped you and decided not to renew, somebody new picked you up. So you get to make more money on an even bigger platform than you were fighting on before. And as stated, the Zuffa Cruiserweight title will make its debut early next month, and I've seen mock-ups of the belt, but I don't actually know if that's what it's gonna look like. I think it's important that it not look like a UFC title.
Needs to look like a boxing belt, a boxing title like the other boxing titles.
Familiarity is important. That is all the value in picking up familiar fighters like Jai Opetaia, Usyk if they can.
Others.
We'll see how it breaks down, but the feeling is, let's hope that Jai didn't drop the red and gold title because the boxing community still wants to see him unify with the other champions.